Over the weekend, Rampage Poker backed out of the highly anticipated $1 million cash game, and in the process, to my surprise, even called me out and blocked me on Twitter for my most recent video on the entire situation. In this video, we discuss the real reason Rampage is no longer playing the $1 million game, and if my video was truly malicious as Rampage describes it. Starting off, he says backing out of this game, sad not to be able to play, but hopeful to be in a better position next year. Looking forward to seeing all the action unfold end of May. Will 100% be tuned in. The following day, posting, quote, receiving lots of backlash for selling action in the milli game. I probably didn't explain it well for the average Joe, and Twitter isn't the best form to rant since majority of people understand here, but damn, it's frustrating to go out of my way to offer the general public something that could have been easily and more efficiently handled selling privately. So to this point, could he really sell everything privately? I mean, it appears he was offering 20% of his action for $2 million or 2 buy-ins of the $1 million game, which comes down to $400K in total. Let's imagine it was even less, 1 buy-in for the game at 20%, so $200K. He had only sold about $15K at the time of posting the video, which of course was basically nothing. How do you start off asking for $10K a pop if you really don't need it? I'd think you'd want to say, hey guys, I've got what I need, but if you want to be part of the sweat for fun, send any amount you want. I don't know, I just don't get the vibe that Rampage is just doing everyone a favor by selling action. This is the dishonest part that I think fans have a problem with. It never came off like it was something for the people as he describes. Last year's video describing staking comes off more friendly and non-needy. You'll notice he does what I describe and starts off suggesting 50 bucks. Big difference there.
I'm buying in for $1 million. I don't have the $1 million. So it's not a shame for me to admit that I just don't have $1 million liquid in cash. I am selling 50% of my action. I'm bringing $1.5 million to the game. I want you guys involved. I don't have the money, and I think it'd be really fun content. So win-win for the people who want to get involved, who want a fun sweat at the $1 million game and want a piece of the action. You get a direct percentage of how much you want to buy. So if you want to put in 50 bucks, if you want to put in $10,000, good with me. I appreciate the support, and let's win some money at that $1 million game. Looking forward to selling a lot of action, so please, if you're interested, click the link down in the description below. I have $1 million for my budget, so if you wanted to deposit let's say 10,000 or 1,000, let's say 1,000 is maybe a little bit more realistic.
He knows his audience better than I, but did he really think he could sell that much worth of action, especially right now? I'm sure with the connections he has made playing super high stakes, he could sell a good amount privately, but it is totally possible he just wasn't able to sell as much as he needed to this time around, and that is fine. I agree with Doug here. Selling action, especially for a $1 million buy-in game, is not wrong.
So there's a little bit of a misconception, I think, from the poker community at large and maybe some of the vlogger community, and then a lot of top players. Top poker players sell action all the time. Because there's an optimal piece of yourself to take, and if you take more than that, you're being irresponsible. If you're a good player, there's a responsible, correct amount of yourself to take. So whenever I look at a game, if it's a game I want to play, I play kind of no matter how I'm feeling, and then I would take a piece based on what's appropriate for that size game. We're talking about $1 million here.
Doug, I believe, only had 25% of himself last year and even took some heat for it. Any serious poker player knows this is just proper bankroll management. And I literally said that in my last video. I do agree with where Rampage stands when it comes to staking. Buy his action or don't. Despite not being able to go back in time and see how much Rampage sold in his first $1 million game of 2023. Okay, pause. I was able to find Rampage saying he had about 23 to 24% of his own action last year, but I couldn't see how much he sold on stakings to the general public.
Full transparency, I have like 24% of myself, and that's like a comfortable amount for a game this size, but if I had to increase it by 10%, then it becomes a fucking disaster.
If we take a look back at the video he used to sell action, it was first of all posted on a second channel and was seen by far less people. Maybe he just had more cash and easier backing back then, and posting on the main channel wasn't necessary. Second of all, it was at a time he was winning a lot versus now, where he has been clearly on a huge downswing and massively punting. Moving on, we get to where Rampage actually calls me out and touches on the hate comments he received, which I will add came in droves far before I made my video, stating, quote, probably should just ignore these comments, but it doesn't help when people at alexduvallin uses the opportunity to pile on maliciously for views and his own benefit. Guess that's the name of the game, right? Well, yes, that is the name of the game for everything on the internet. Was I unfair and malicious? No. I mean, Rampage, everyone, including yourself, does it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I use things to my benefit, but you don't? I mean, come on. You cherry-picked a comment from last year's video about selling action that put you in the best light, comparing it to this year's Backlash, conveniently ignoring many similar negative comments from last year. I saw the story and I showed both sides. What the haters had to say and even what the concerned, more positive, longtime fans had to say. Maybe this was just missed by the parts I emphasized early in the video, like you saying it's quote rare to get stacked in cash games, which I still strongly stand by to be bonkers. I get what you were trying to say, but it's just still wrong. Before the one in question, I had made several videos on Rampage because he has been and is currently still one of the biggest names in poker. I've said it before privately and publicly, I respect his success thus far, and it is no small feat. But let's not pretend it's all so serious and Alex is just out to get everybody. I mean, Rampage announces he is out of the $1 million game, and this is the first thing Doug Polk has to say. Quote, just want to say I'm sorry to hear that Rampage is out of the $1 million game. His bluff last year was sick. Anyways, I'm free that day too. I mean, it's really just all a meme at this point. Now ending with what the hate and backlash really boils down to. Rampage says a quote, communication error on my part not succinctly explaining how selling action works. Seems like general public thinks I'm begging for a handout to go play roulette with subscribers' money for a free roll. LOL, how silly. So sure, end of the day, I agree to this being a communication error to some degree. You do also have to recognize how fans feel when they continuously see you lose by punting for many months in a row, and then you go and promote getting staked for $1 million buy-in game. Are you just magically going to start playing better in that game? When looking back during this time last year, there was a completely different tone. Rampage came off more authentic and humble. When he lost, fans were more understanding. Now the script has essentially flipped, and I don't think it's so black and white as to coming down to a quote communication error about staking. I had never seen him get so much hate for posting a video, and that's what I set out to understand and explain where it was coming from. Overall, whether Rampage is no longer playing the $1 million game because he can't afford it or because he is in a bad position mentally, it doesn't matter, and we can only speculate.
He's just kind of lost some confidence in his game. And he doesn't want to go into the biggest game that he's ever played. It's the same as last year, but tied for the biggest game he's ever played, without having his most confidence possible. He wants to be able to make the right calls, make the right bluffs, not just like bleed off money. So, you know, he just decided for his own reason that it wasn't a good spot for him. And, you know, I think that that's respectable that he's, you know, has the discipline and he's matured enough where, you know, he isn't going to force it when he's not confident in himself.
Now he's just purely running bad. Even like on our show, he's just got his face punched in. And so I really, truly believe, without speaking with him, that this is what Ryan said, and it's just an absolute confidence thing. I don't think he's in the right headspace for it. And I think he's making a good decision. We want him in, so do the fans. Everyone does. I mean, it's a big loss. But for him personally, I think it's probably a smart call just right at this point here. I think he'll be back to where he was and get that confidence back, but that's my opinion.
I expect the game to be very entertaining nonetheless, and there is still lots to cover, like our old friend Nick Airball also backing out. Hit the subscribe button to not miss out on the interesting theories around that.
And by the way, he's not playing because he's busto. So for all the people saying he's busto, that's not it. He's handling something. He's taking a little time off of streaming poker, and he's going to be back. So we're looking forward to it.